I'm Veronica Dudo. Tonight on EWTN News Nightly, AI battle. Details behind a new executive order from the president, what it means for tech innovation and national security. Plan rejected, why GOP lawmakers in one state said no to President Trump. Plus, celebrating our mother.
The motherhood she discovers helps us discover ourselves as children.
How the Holy Father celebrated the feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe. These stories and more tonight.
From EWTN, the Global Catholic Network, this is EWTN News Nightly.
Thank you for being with us on the Feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe. Our top story tonight, President Donald Trump blocks states from regulating artificial intelligence. He wants one central source for AI rules so the industry can grow and keep America ahead of China. President Donald Trump holds a signing ceremony in the Oval Office. His new executive order is aimed at ensuring a national policy framework for artificial intelligence. It prevents states from regulating AI.
We want to have one central source of approval, and we have, I think, great Republican support. I think we probably have Democrat support too, because it's common sense. I mean, you can't go to every time you make a change, and it could be a very reasonable change. You still won't get it approved if you have to go to 50 states.
The president's AI czar says they're trying to prevent a confusing patchwork of rules.
This EO gives your administration tools to push back on the most onerous and excessive state regulations. We're not going to push back on all of them. For example, kid safety, we're going to protect.
And it all comes down to competition.
This is the single most important economic question in the country and in the world. Who wins the race for AI?
And there's only going to be, I think, one winner here. I don't know if anybody agrees with that. I think most people agree, but there's only going to be one winner here, and that's probably going to be the U.S. or China. And right now we're winning by a lot.
The executive order calls on U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi to challenge any problematic regulations. States could lose access to broadband funding if they don't comply. Some had already passed laws to limit AI data collection and increase transparency. Patrick Hedger, Director of Policy for NetChoice, joins me now. Thanks so much for your time.
Hey, thank you for having me.
So President Trump just signed an executive order aimed at streamlining AI regulations. This preempts state rules while Congress is working on a nationwide rulebook to govern AI technology. From your perspective, what is the most significant change this order introduces for the U.S.?
Yeah, so it's putting a little bit of muscle behind the Trump AI action plan, which called out the problem of having a 50-state patchwork of rules for what is fundamentally an interstate service. And interstate commerce is the domain of the federal government. AI rides on top of the World Wide Web, and there's nothing more interstate than the World Wide Web. So this is a really important step forward because it's really bad for innovators, particularly smaller innovators and smaller competitors, to have to deal with 50 different legal frameworks. That's an enormous cost, compliance cost, that takes away resources from innovation. So this is a huge step forward, and it's the Trump administration walking the walk, not just talking the talk on AI policy.
Now, how might this executive order impact America's global competitiveness, particularly against China, which is rapidly scaling its own AI capabilities in the midst of the AI arms race?
Yeah, I think this is a shot in the arm for the industry here in the United States. This will allow innovators and entrepreneurs to focus on building their AI systems, building their products and services versus dealing with the compliance costs. So it's really exciting from that perspective, and it puts us in a much better competitive position vis-a-vis China.
How does this executive order compare to the European Union's landmark AI legal framework enacted in 2024?
Yeah, so the European Union took a framework approach that is really heavy-handed in terms of government trying to control the underlying models and math and systems, and it's what we call a mother may I or ex-ante regulatory approach, where you have to essentially get government permission before you innovate or launch a new product or service. This takes the opposite approach. It's a permissionless innovation structure. It defaults to allowing innovation first and then regulating afterwards if problems arise. So that puts us in a much better position. And as we've seen in the European Union, there really isn't an equivalent of the Silicon Valley sector that we have here in the United States.
Patrick Hedger, thanks so much for breaking it all down for us.
Thank you.
In a show of defiance against President Trump, state Republican lawmakers in Indiana voted down a bill that would have wiped out the state's 2 Democratic-held seats in the U.S. House. 21 Republicans joined 10 Democrats in the Indiana State House to vote against the redistricting measure. Capitol Hill correspondent Eric Rosales joins us with reaction. Eric.
Well, good evening, Veronica. Yes, this is a major blow, not just to President Trump, but to Vice President J.D. Vance. He visited the state of Indiana multiple times ahead of the vote to discuss the mid-cycle redistricting with Republican leaders. That effort shows just how important these 2 extra Republican seats were to get President Trump's agenda across the finish line. The president said that he was disappointed with Indiana's state Republicans.
I won Indiana all 3 times by a landslide, and I wasn't working on it very hard. Would have been nice. I think we would have picked up 2 seats if we did that.
Indiana State Senate Republican Jean Lysing was one of 21 who voted against the new map. She had this message for President Trump.
I wish that President Trump would change his tone. I think that he needs to be more positive about what he needs to address for 27 and 28. Why does he need to have a Republican majority in 27 and 28? What's he going to do next? Because we all know what he's done. And you know what? I voted for him 3 times. I like a lot of the things he's done. I didn't like this.
Democrats only need to net 3 U.S. House seats in the next 2026 midterms in order to seize control of Congress's lower chamber. U.S. Democratic lawmakers call it a victory.
Out-of-state consultants and elitists from D.C. drew this map, not Hoosiers. That's a big problem. Indiana is a red state, it's true, but we have a very independent libertarian streak. We don't like being told what to do, so D.C. insiders are spending millions of dollars to push effectively an agenda that doesn't resonate with Hoosiers.
Republicans say this is a team sport and must stick together.
Disappointing to me, but as I've said all along, whatever the maps are that are presented by every state, I have to win those, and we will. So I guess that's a disappointing outcome in Indiana, but there's about 14 states at some stage of the process now, either litigation or redistricting, so we shall see.
President Trump now plans to run primary challengers against the Indiana senators who voted against the measure. But this points to a much bigger picture, major problems within the Republican Party. I did speak to a number of Republican strategists who tell me that state Republicans have to realize that you only have a couple of opportunities to pick up seats, and if Republicans need to net about 5 to 10 seats, and if they don't, it's going to be nearly impossible to keep the U.S. House in the 2026 election. At the Capitol, Eric Rosales, EWTN News Nightly.
House Democrats have released another batch of photos from the estate of convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
We know there's some that he's himself that others took, but they were in his possession. And so that is what's important. And obviously, there are photos of powerful men and folks that we want to have an opportunity to speak with and ask questions of.
If DOJ doesn't release the files it has by next Friday, is there anything Congress can do to compel that to happen?
Well, I mean, it's a crime if they don't. It's not like they're in contempt of Congress because they didn't respond to a subpoena. This is a new law with, criminal implications if they don't follow it.
The 19 images selected for release are among a massive trove of over 95,000 photos and include pictures of Donald Trump, Bill Clinton, and the former Prince Andrew. The Democrats on the House Oversight Committee released the images without captions or contacts, vowing more to come. Today, the White House accused those Democrats of selectively releasing cherry-picked photos with random redactions to try and create a false narrative. Illinois will be the 12th state to pass a law allowing terminally ill patients end-of-life options. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker signed a bill into law allowing some adults with a terminal illness to take their own lives with medical help. It allows terminally ill adults with a 6-month or less prognosis the option to request a prescription which they can self-ingest to die on their own terms from their doctor. The Senate bill, also known as Deb's Law, will take effect in September 2026. The Catholic bishops of Illinois strongly opposed this bill and released a statement following Governor Pritzker's signature, saying in part, this law ignores the very real failures in access to quality care that drive vulnerable people to despair. It does nothing to ensure patients are offered services protected from coercion or surrounded by loved ones when they kill themselves. Even more alarming, by enacting this law, Illinois is endorsing the death option while claiming compassion. The U.S. is ramping up pressure on the Maduro regime. The Treasury Department just announced new sanctions targeting Maduro's family, plus 6 shipping companies and vessels accused of moving Venezuelan oil through deceptive and unsafe practices. Maduro slammed the move on state TV, labeling the U.S. as pirates of the Caribbean for what he called the kidnapping of the crew and the theft of the ship. Maduro also revealed he spoke with Russian President Vladimir Putin, claiming he expressed solidarity and admiration for his government. Meanwhile, President Trump has discussed for weeks that he's considering conducting land strikes in Venezuela, in addition to his strikes against alleged drug boats in Latin American waters, as the next step in his campaign against the flow of drugs into the U.S. We have a lot more still to come on EWTN News Nightly, celebrating our mother, how the Holy Father celebrated the feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe. And Gaudete Sunday approaches. A priest shares why this day is so special. Pope Leo celebrated the feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe, emphasizing that she awakens in the inhabitants of America the joy of knowing themselves loved by God. EWTN Vatican journalist Benedict Sedegren has more.
On the feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe, people from around the world joined Pope Leo in Mass in St. Peter's Basilica. Coinciding with the anniversary of his episcopal ordination, the Holy Father asked Our Lady of Guadalupe to accompany the young, strengthen families, seek those who have strayed from the Church, and to help all remain united, even amid difficulties and conflicts.
She is the voice that makes the promise of divine fidelity resound, the presence that sustains when life becomes unbearable. The motherhood she discovers helps us discover ourselves as children.
After Pope Benedict XVI first celebrated the solemnity in 2011 to mark the bicentenary of Latin America's independence, Pope Francis chose to continue the tradition in 2015, celebrating Mass in Spanish each year on her feast. In 2024, it was Cardinal Robert Prevost, then prefect of the Dicastery for Bishops and president of the Pontifical Commission for Latin America, who served as the main celebrant. Pope Francis reflected on how the message of Our Lady of Guadalupe is a genuine expression of Mary's universal motherhood.
The mystery of Guadalupe is to venerate her, and to hear her words in our ears. Am I not here, I who am your mother, and to listen to it in various moments in life's difficult moments, in life's happy moments, in everyday life. Do not fear. Am I not here, I who am your mother?
Pope Francis and Pope Leo are just two of the many popes to whom Our Lady of Guadalupe, venerated across the world, has been especially dear. The papal devotion is evident in the Vatican gardens, where a statue of Our Lady of Guadalupe, installed during the pontificate of Pope Pius XII, holds a prominent place at the center and conveys an important message of peace.
At a time when we're praying for peace, I think it's very important to remember that Our Lady appeared as an indigenous person, to remind us that she's the mother of everyone, and therefore we're all in the great family of God, and therefore families must live in peace, and Our Lady calls us to that.
At Mass, Pope Leo also emphasized that as a loving mother, Our Lady of Guadalupe calls all people to unity and service, guiding the faithful, leaders, and the Church to live in communion with God and with one another.
And as a son, I ask you, Mother, teach the nations that wish to be your children, not to divide the world into irreconcilable camps, not to allow hatred to mark their history, nor falsehood to write their memory. Show them that authority must be exercised as service, not as domination. Instruct their rulers in their duty to safeguard the dignity of every person at all stages of life. Make those peoples, your children, places where every person can feel welcome.
In Rome, Benedictia de Grian for EWTN News Nightly.
The feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe dates back to the 16th century in a little village in Mexico. The Virgin Mary appeared to a native named Saint Juan Diego, asking him to have a church built at the site of her apparition. After the bishop denied his request, the Blessed Mother told him to pick roses and bring them in his tilma to the bishop. When Juan Diego opened his tilma in front of the bishop, the image of Our Lady miraculously appeared on his tunic, which you can still see today in Mexico City. Joining us for more on Our Lady of Guadalupe is Michael O'Neill, host of The Miracle Hunter on EWTN and creator of the Gabriel Award-recognized documentary Guadalupe Mysteries. Thanks so much for joining us.
It's great to be here on this feast day.
You've seen the tilma in person, creating a documentary on it. What are some of the miraculous aspects of this image?
Well, I think there's a lot of things that are claimed about the image. Perhaps we hear people saying that it has the temperature of a human body, or that there have been lights detected on it, or that the image floats above the surface. But really the miraculous aspects that people point to, or that we can point to, relate to the long-lasting nature of the fabric. It dates to 1531, that's the date that we've been given, but it would have been expected that that would have decayed in about 30 years or so. So we've seen this image surviving rough handling and non-protection for so many years, and now it's clearly protected. But this is an image that is unlike any other image in Mexican history, made of that ayate fiber and protected in such a way that it still is with us today. So that's the greatest, the persistence of it from all these years. But then when you look at the image closely, you can see things like the volcanoes matching up to the stars and the flowers on the tilma. The stars on the tilma have been aligned to the star pattern on December 12, 1531, coming down, looking down from the heavens. So some miraculous aspects like that have caught the attention of scholars throughout the ages. And also, there have been scientists who have looked in the eyes of the tilma and have claimed to see images of St. Juan Diego reflected back. And so there's various aspects of this that are exciting for those people who have that devotion to Our Lady of Guadalupe, and certainly unexplained aspects for everyone else.
How is Our Lady of Guadalupe celebrated in Mexico, and how did her apparition impact Native culture?
Well, this is one of the greatest Marian shrines in the whole world, and my absolute personal favorite. And we talk about as many as 20 million people a year coming to celebrate Our Lady of Guadalupe for her feast day and otherwise throughout the year. So it's you see so many people, the rich and the poor, all the people of Mexico. You might even ask anybody in Mexico if they are Catholic, and most will say yes. But even the ones who say no say that they are Guadalupanos. They are devotees of Our Lady of Guadalupe. So it's a devotion that spreads far and wide.
Fascinating conversation. Michael O'Neill, thank you so much.
Thank you.
This Sunday, the church celebrates the third Sunday of Advent, known as Gaudete Sunday. I recently spoke with a priest about what makes the day so special. We're happy to welcome to the program Father Christopher Gray, rector of the Cathedral of the Madeleine in Salt Lake City. Father Gray, thanks for coming on today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So first, can you remind our viewers what Gaudete Sunday is?
Gaudete Sunday is the third Sunday of Advent, which, like Laetare Sunday in Lent, has this special introit that says, rejoice. Both of them say more or less the same thing. And it's this moment when, as a church, in this interesting season, we take a moment to lift up our hearts in a way that we wouldn't otherwise. Both Advent and Lent happen, for us in the Northern Hemisphere at least, kind of in the darker part of the year, in winter, and then into spring, but not quite actually out of spring yet. Then this moment to rejoice is a reminder to celebrate.
Can you talk a little bit about how long the church has been celebrating this particular Sunday?
Absolutely. So this introit, Gaudete, has been the introit for this Sunday for a very long time. Think over 1,000 years. And we've been celebrating this thing of the seasons for a very, very long time indeed. It wasn't until much later, though, that the colors became more fixed. So purple as a color of the liturgical year is more of a second millennium kind of thing than a first, even though we would already been celebrating things like Advent and Lent. And as a result, also pink, that is, say, this rose color that is typical of Gaudete or Laetare Sunday, is more modern, but not modern in a reasonable sense for us, more like several hundred years ago.
Father Christopher Gray, thank you so much.
Absolutely. A pleasure.
Up next on EWTN News Nightly, FIFA Fever. The World Cup is coming to the U.S. next year, and preparations are underway for what this means for you. The 2026 Men's World Cup will be held across the United States, Canada, and Mexico next summer. But some soccer fans around the world are a bit astonished over recently released ticket prices, with a ticket for the final costing more than $4,000. Despite the hefty price tag, this will be the largest FIFA World Cup in history. It's also projected to bring billions of dollars and thousands of jobs to the U.S. economy. Earlier, I spoke to Ron Glasgow, founder of Glasgow Investments, to discuss its economic impact. Thank you so much for your time.
No problem. Thank you very much for having me. One of my favorite topics to discuss today.
Yeah, and this is going to be the largest FIFA World Cup in history, with 48 teams and more matches than ever before. From your perspective, what makes the 2026 tournament such a historic moment for global sports and for the United States as a host nation?
Yeah, I can't help but think back to the last time we hosted in 1994, and we've certainly come a long way since then. That's this jersey, by the way, from 1994, so I've been a lifelong fan. But back then, this was very much a rare thing. Nobody really knew what soccer was or how it was played, and the World Cup was this sort of mystical tournament. Today, I think virtually every American understands it. And the fact that we've increased the amount of teams certainly increases the fanfare that goes along with the sport. That said, it does create some differences. We have to kind of rely on some other countries. We have 11 cities you're hosting, whereas we have 2 to our neighbors to the north in Canada and 3 cities to the south in Mexico. You need a lot of venues to host a tournament this size.
Now, current projections range from $30 to $50 billion in economic activity and nearly 185,000 jobs just for the U.S. alone. Can you break down the economic impact that's going to have?
Yeah, I particularly kind of focus on North Texas, and I think North Texas is a great place to focus here in Dallas because we are a hub. And Dallas has done this thing very, very well. You have the Convention Center, which is the host of the International Broadcasting Center. And then, of course, you have newly renamed Dallas Stadium, because FIFA rules won't allow you to use a corporate sponsor, but Dallas Stadium will be hosting 9 separate matches, one of them a semifinal. So when you look at that sort of activity, it brings in a lot more business, a lot more job opportunities than if you just host a game here or there like some of the other cities. So Dallas has really done it very well.
Now, how significant is it that North America is hosting the World Cup for the first time in 3 decades? And what message does this send about the region's expanding influence in the global sports economy and maybe more Americans jumping on the bandwagon for supporting soccer?
We now have a very tried and true league of the MLS. So we've created our own domestic league where we get some great players. Most notably, David Beckham has played here. Gerrard has played here from Liverpool. We currently have Messi playing here. So these are some of the top stars in the world that are playing in our league. It was just been unheard of prior to 1994. And that's all a direct result of hosting the World Cup. So I think the sky's the limit on what goes on the next 30 years. And hopefully we increase our ranking from 14th in the world to that sort of top 5 and make a run for a World Cup title one day.
Okay.
We did come in 3rd 1930, but it was a little bit of a different tournament back then.
Yeah, a lot has changed since then. And finally, what kind of long-term global relationships, whether in sports business, international tourism, or even cultural exchanges might develop from welcoming millions of fans and delegations from around the world?
Sky's the limit on what could happen here with 48 teams. That's 47 other delegations coming in. Obviously, we're familiar with Canada and Mexico and England, but there's some of these other countries that we don't do a ton of business with that we can in the future. It's truly a global economy that's shrinking, that's for sure.
Ron Glasgow, thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Tonight, be sure to tune in for a very special program here on EWTN. At 8 p.m., EWTN will present the 2025 Mother Angelica Award. It's the network's highest honor and recognizes those who have made an extraordinary contribution to the church and the new evangelization in the same spirit as our foundress, Mother Angelica. Again, that's at 8 p.m. right here on EWTN. We thank you for watching tonight. Remember, you can follow us on social media, Facebook, X, and Instagram at EWTN News Nightly. I'm Veronica Dudo. Good night and God bless.